The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to Gate City Chronicles. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today I have some very special guests, and I'd like to introduce them to you. I have Jean.
Yes.
And Jean Perry.
Yes.
And Pastor Odie.
Yes.
How'd I do?
You did great.
Great. And we're talking about the front
door agency.
Front door agency. And I just want to introduce this whole show as people watching the show. Every time Gate City Chronicles comes up, you'll see a little picture of a boy and his brother. That's actually me with my big brother, Michael. And we're standing in front of 7 Concord Street. And the little history behind that, at 7 Concord Street, my grandmother, Yvonne, used to leave food out on the front door for people as they would, if they were homeless, years and years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, maybe even longer than that. How old am I? I'm 51. So even longer than that.
Yeah.
And they had a ministry, I don't know if it was a ministry, but she just reached out in that way, and she gave food. And come to find out, you people came along to continue on a broader scale. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing and how this all came about with the front door. And thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's a privilege to be here. I came to Nashua in 1986 as the pastor of Church of the Good Shepherd. Mm-hmm. And when I came, Church of the Good Shepherd had an outreach ministry that was just being inundated with needy people. And it was very clear we were either going to have to close our doors or somehow expand it. And it was our vision that the only way to expand it was to get money not from the church, but from the community and from the state, from the feds. And so we separately incorporated that outreach ministry. In those days, it was called the Nashua Pastoral Care Center, we have since changed the name to the Front Door Agency, appropriate at 7 Concord Street, since your grandmother used to leave out the food at the front door. So
it's spooky. I mean, we're talking off camera, but that's where she left the food, at the front door, and I wasn't allowed to answer the door when I was a little kid because there might be some homeless people, and back then it wasn't something that they wanted to, it's just something Grandma did, you know?
Yeah.
But you call it the front door. It's just bizarre.
Yes.
Anyway, I hate to interrupt. Go ahead.
That's okay. So the first year in existence in the separately incorporated agency, we were taking surveys of who was coming through our doors, and what we discovered was that the average person that we were helping was a 22, 23-year-old female who had 2 or 3 kids, who was single for whatever reason, and making about $100 to $200 a week. And that became what we felt was the poor of our society, the majority poor of our society. And we didn't want to create a revolving door where we'd help people and then they'd come back and help people come back. So our goal all along was to create something that would where we would help people become self-sustaining, that we would help them in a program, and once they were done with our program, they'd be able to live on their own independently. And so we created this transitional housing program that required the people that were part of it to live rent-free with us for 2 or 3 years, required them to go to school to get the next level of education, because we really are convinced that education is what empowers people. And most of these women had no education.
Where did they stay?
In the beginning, we used to rent apartments around the city from landlords who were willing to work with us. And then eventually we bought a building on C Street, then eventually bought a building on Vine Street, then eventually bought the Norwell home. and another building on Shattuck Street. So we, we're gobbling up the city over time here, helping our women.
But you're solving a problem.
Yes, needy women with kids that need help. None of us make it on our own. All of us have assistance some
We're a
way,
community.
somehow. Yes. Yeah. And so these people need a little bit more help. And so as long as they are participating in a custom-made program designed for them, each individual, they can live in our housing 2 to 3 years and go to school.
What's your success rate with that?
Our success rate is about over 80%.
Right. So, sometimes some people still fall off the crack. They need some extra
We have
help.
strict rules,
Yeah.
and it's not all the time are they able to meet the rules.
Right.
One of the rules, strangely enough, is no men, no boyfriends, nothing, just because we need them to stay focused.
You need to focus, right? You got kids.
On learning how to parent, learning how to become financially literate, going through addiction training or whatever may be necessary for them as they become self-sustaining members of our community. But we've had some tremendous success rates as people graduate from either community college or and just continue to move on. So this is the bread and butter program of the Front Door Agency. This is our core program.
Right.
We develop a lot of other programs through the years, including a security deposit loan program where we will loan people a security deposit, and they have a year or two to pay us back without interest.
Right.
Just to get them into housing.
Sometimes that could be the biggest obstacle for them just to get started.
Right,
Just that
exactly.
security loan, and it's amazing. For some people, it's nothing. For others, that's all I need.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
all I
Yeah.
need.
Right.
Yeah.
And help me out.
Yeah. And then that program was adopted by the state, and now it's run statewide. And the state used our model for how to do security deposit loan programs.
Were you one of the founders of this?
Yes. It was my brainstorm, and then the people at Church of the Good Shepherd and I kind of put this all together, and it was housed at Church of the Good Shepherd from 1986 to the year 2000. And the agency kept expanding and expanding. We built a second floor for them, and then by 2000 they were totally outgrown the space, and that's when we worked with the First Church Congregational
Up on Main Street?
up on the corner there at Main Street and Concord Street, and they own 7 Concord Street. So we worked out a deal with them where the agency would move into that building. And it was shortly after that we bought the 9 Concord Street, the Norwell home from the Hunt home, and that houses 15 of our transitional housing clients. So we started with a $50,000 budget in 1986, and now we have $1 million budget, and we own 5 buildings in town, and the Penny Drive was one of the first things that we ever did in the late 80s to raise money. And it was really the thing that put us on the map with the community, because we went door to door. We got people to go door to door, and they heard about us. And we had yellow smocks and saying penny pickers, and we leave flyers on the doorsteps. And it was one of the ways that we did PR was to do this penny drive. So,
You blew on my mind. My grandfather was a door-to-door salesman, but he used to sell the vacuum cleaners and stuff. And I used to sell my dad scratch pads, and it was all from that place. So this door-to-door thing and the food drives, it's very interesting. It reminds me, when Jesus was sitting down the 5,000 people, he said to Philip, "Get me bread and feed the people." Oh, all we got is a fish and a couple of pieces of loaves of bread. Have them sit down. That little bit that little boy had, it might have been, in our minds, a penny, but it fed 5,000 people, didn't it?
Right.
It fed 5,000, and he made it multiply. And what's a penny? What's giving a jar full of pennies? It gets multiplied.
Right.
Jean, what is your responsibility? How are you involved with this?
Right. Well, I am in charge of the special events, so the Penny Drive falls under my responsibility. And it's really a grassroots fundraiser, and none other like it exists in the city, and we're well known for it. In fact, this year is our 23rd year. So we're the neighborhoods know us very well. They expect us every year. And one of the very unique things that happens is Odie is able to recruit some great volunteers. In fact, we have a volunteer system that includes football players from Nashua North and Nashua South, and they have a little bit of a rivalry going on. So that's great.
Might as well, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And at the Turkey Bowl, he announces the winner of this rivalry and awards them a plaque, which is great. And we also have a huge volunteer group from Riviera University. The whole athletic department comes over and does the door-to-door penny picking with us, as well as interact groups and church groups and just individual volunteers as well.
A lot of churches get involved, different churches, different denominations.
Yeah,
Sure.
youth groups or people within their church. And the interesting thing when we first started the penny drive was that we had a lot of volunteers, particularly a lot of seniors who would but they couldn't carry the change because it was too heavy. So that's when we said, okay, we got to get the young people and the sports teams to carry all these change and money around to help us. And so we really got away from just a lot of the volunteers that wanted to help and gave them different jobs and focused on the youth and all the teams from the various high schools to help us. And that's really paved well. And it teaches them how to give to the community as well, right away, whether it's a young person.
When it's Christmas time and we see the Salvation Army out there with the we give to that, and every year you'll hear of somebody dropping a gold coin. Do you ever get any surprises like that in the penny drive?
We get checks sometimes,
Yes.
which are always much appreciated. It's amazing how generous people are in this community. So it's really nice. But because this has been so successful and has grown a lot, we've sort of expanded it into a campaign called the Harvesting Change Campaign to Change Lives. So one of the things we're doing this year, participating in the Gate City Parade and Festival, engaging youth even more because we have a group that's spearheading that for us, so they'll be at the festival. It's a group of National Honor Society students that are spearheading this for us as a community service program. And then we are wrapping up our month-long campaign with a murder mystery celebration event at LaBelle Winery.
Oh.
So it's sure to be a fun, intriguing event.
That's a beautiful place, by the way.
It is. Yeah.
And there's going to be a mystery. Are there prizes or?
Yes, it'll be a prize if you solve the mystery, and it's a fun fundraising event, and we're going to give out a few surprise scholarships to some of our well-deserving clients. So it'll be really a nice event to wrap up the whole drive.
So is this thing at LaBelle's like Clue, like Mr. whatever did it with the wrench and
Yes.
That's cool.
It's actually called Gangsters in Love is the show.
Oh,
yes.
Interesting.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Gangsters in Love.
Yes.
I'm an Italian from New York, so you have to keep the mafia.
Right. Right.
Got to keep the image, right? Oh, that's good. And as far as the change, if you go to the bank or one of those little machines at, say, one of the stores, and it converts the change for you, there's a fee for that. Do the banks waive that for you, or is there a particular bank that you work with that you want to drop a name?
Yes, we work with TD Bank. So they let us process all the change there, and anyone who wants to donate money can go into any TD Bank and just mention the front door agency, and they'll deposit it into our account.
All right, and they won't charge you that
No.
fee for
This is part of their community, giving back to the community to help our.
Are there sponsors, any business sponsors that you'd like to drop? I mean, you got LaBelle's.
Sure, yes. We have NTI Data Products is a new sponsor for us. Dr. Mulvaney, who's an oral surgeon in Nashua.
Oh.
Of course, LaBelle Winery is a sponsor.
Sure.
We have Sealy & Schultz, who's a CPA firm. We have some big partners, Bellwether Community, Lowell 5. Who else do we have? Nash Foundation, some really great community sponsors.
I like to drop names because we really appreciate
them.
We do. We have a lot of shows where there's different things going on. Right across the street from, on the angle, you have the HIV organizations or Harbor Homes or there are all kinds of organizations out here that people are just. This is such a great community, and every time you turn your head, there's another program going on, reaching out for people, and there's so many needs out there. Right. I introduced you to a few people who are the Positive Street Art.
Yes.
They're reaching out to their community as well. Instead of kids going out doing graffiti on things, they channel that, and what a neat idea.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's a spirit here in Nashua that just doesn't quit, and I'd love to see that continue. And obviously, you're obviously a bright star here. What's troubling though is there is a need, and that need is something I want to tap into a little bit more.
We still find that as much as we do as an agency, we still turn away about 80% of the people come to us for need, and we are the last stop.
Wow.
Because they've already been to the welfare agency, or they've already been to other helping agencies around, or to the food bank, or whatever, and sometimes our money's run out, and we can't help with a security deposit, or we can't help with their back rent or utilities. As much as we do, there's
still
tons more.
There's still
tons more. Yeah.
Yeah, and the poor you'll have with you always, Jesus said. But we're reaching out, and you're reaching out. What is your greatest need as an organization? Is it just money, or are there other things that you have needs?
I'd say both money and volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
We're only limited in the penny drive by the number of volunteers that we can have to go door to door. So the more volunteers we have, because every team that goes out of 2 to 4 people that goes out into a neighborhood brings anywhere from $100 to $200 back to us. And
how do people recognize that they're legitimately with you? Because there are always other people that they put a monkey in the wrench.
Yeah.
Or a wrench and whatever into the machine. And
we have been very, very fortunate. I mean, 23 years, we've had only 1 or 2 minor incidences.
Right.
And we have special yellow smocks that say penny pickers on them. And I'm not going to describe them because I don't want anybody to copy them.
Right.
But the police know them. And if anybody has any questions at all, ever, about somebody approaching their door, they can always call the police or ask for identification.
Mm-hmm.
Our football teams all wear their jerseys underneath the smocks, all the athletic teams that help us. And so that's one way to identify some of what's going on. But we always have the football teams go to the same neighborhoods every year. So those people pretty much know.
Yes.
Do you target every neighborhood in Nashua?
As many as we can with the volunteers. So again, we're only limited by the number of people that volunteer.
Yep.
Money is always the key way to help, because then that can help support our clients, either in going to school, getting their books, getting them into apartments. So donations we're out there collecting. The penny drive now raises $40,000 a year, so that's 4 million pennies. Now, obviously, we get a lot of checks in there, not just pennies, but
it's very unique, and it's very obviously it's effective.
It
Do
is.
people deliver food, clothes, anything like that as well, or is that more for the food bank?
Well, we encourage food to go to the food bank.
Okay.
We do food drives for our clients. There was a couple places like my church does that. We send food over just especially for the clients, but we more would prefer people give to a central place for food rather than all the different food places. And we feel that it was part of the reason for starting the front doors, have a central place for certain needs. And so over the years, we've tried to combine food pantries into the Corpus Christi so that people can go just one place for food. And we don't deal with clothes. Sometimes specialty clothes, if people have clothes for women who are going into interviews, we'll accept. But otherwise, we don't do clothes in general, because it's a whole nother big task and endeavor. So
now, when somebody graduates from school, obviously, they're going to graduate from the program. They're going to move out into the society. You help them with maybe their first deposit for rent. Do you have somebody that going alongside with them to these places and doing the interviews with them, or how does that work?
Well, each person is assigned a case manager who works with them throughout the whole process. And there's group meetings and counselors. There's a whole team of people that works with them every step of the way.
Are they all volunteers, or are they paid staff?
Mostly paid staff and some volunteers. So it's a little bit of both. Paid staff is really important at the stages that we're helping these clients.
Keeps continuity.
Yes,
right.
Yes, absolutely, and particularly for the training that's needed in terms of financial literacy or counseling and therapy for these people, or addiction help. We need people that know what they're doing.
Now, some people say, well, you're a religious organization. Are you going to throw the gospel down their neck or anything like that?
We're not a religious organization. So that's very important to know. We were started by a religious organization, but we were separately incorporated. The Front Door is a separate incorporation from Church of the Good Shepherd.
Right.
It was a non-profit, non-sectarian, non-religious organization. We don't talk about religion at all with any of our clients unless they ask a question, and then we'll refer them to appropriate place depending on their background.
Right.
So we're not a religious organization. It's one of the reasons why we changed our name from the Nashua Pastoral Care Center to the Front Door Agency, is that people were confusing the nonprofit agency with a religious organization, and so that was actually hurting some of our foundation grants applications. So.
Just want to keep it.
Just because I'm involved doesn't make it a religious organization. But
and really, that's too bad that, hey, people of faith can get involved in public community service without it being an endorsement of the state. We got to get back to that.
Yeah.
It got to get back to that. It's time, because there's a lot of needs out there, it seems, and the only one that hurts is society when the two can't mesh to some degree. You know.
Yeah.
So. Again, we have the pressing needs. You have counselors, and is it where do they come from? Are they trained? They have to be trained staff.
Right.
We hire people in the community, particularly psychotherapists and addiction counselors.
Yeah.
We take advantage of.
Is that really the biggest part of it? Is addiction?
80% of our women who come to us have a history of either being abused by people with addictions, or addiction problems perhaps themselves. So whether it's abuse, domestic violence, alcohol or drugs, 80% of our women have had that in their history or families of origin somehow, some way, even if they don't have an addiction problem.
Right.
So we're trying to break the cycle that they've been through.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there an outreach for men?
We do help men in all the other programs of the Front Door Agency.
Okay.
But right now there are no men in our transitional housing program.
Right. There isn't like a separate place for them just yet. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Okay. But it's obviously a need, and you're making a mark, and that's great. And it's sad that there is such a need, and you're turning away 80%. Is that what you said?
80% of the people that come to us for help in any way don't get help.
Wow. What are the numbers are we looking at? Are we looking at hundreds, thousands?
Thousands. We help over anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 people a year, either with food, back rent, utilities, transitional housing, financial literacy programs, the dental care program.
We also participate in the Santa Fund with the Nashua Telegraph.
Yeah.
So that's part of our,
Yes.
something we administer as well as the Adopt a Family program.
How do we avoid this? How do we fix the society where we're having so much of a need? What is, obviously, this is aftercare. We're picking up the pieces. Right. How do we stop this? Mm-hmm. How do we fix this? What is the solution to that? Is it let's get back to church? Is it what is it? What is a society needing that we're hurting ourselves so much on such a regular basis?
If I had the answer to that, I'd be rich.
It's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
But the fortunate thing is we are helping people transition out of that, giving them a hand up versus a handout.
Yeah.
So we're breaking that cycle.
Right.
And that's very important. Obviously, you can give a person a fish, but if you teach them how to fish, obviously that's the key. So
and that's where the education piece really comes in for our programs.
Does the community college give you a break on tuition, or?
We get some funding for that for the women, so they get special. There's special programs for them.
Now they have children.
Need-based.
They got child care.
Right.
How does that work out? You're taking care of that as well.
We went into a partnership with the Head Start program in town, and we were fortunate enough to get a $3 million federal grant, and we created a child care program for women with children 3 and under. It costs over $300 a week to put a child under 3 years old into child care, and our women weren't even making that a month.
Right.
and the women at the front door get to participate in that child care at this agency that was built by these grants for $5 a week. So, just we're solving that child care issue so that these people aren't overwhelmed and get a chance to.
And the mothers participating in the $5 a week, at least, to show that
Right.
there's a responsibility there.
Yes.
And growing along with the children into being a productive person in our community.
Right. Otherwise, they can't go to school, or they can't get a job, or they can't get job training. I mean, the whole thing, the child care issue, is just part of the problem.
So there must be a transportation as well for them to go to schools. They must take the public.
They do utilize public transportation. It's always difficult because they have to get their children into daycare and then themselves off to a job or to school. But some do have a vehicle, which was sometimes donated, or they're able to manage that. But a lot of public transportation.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
it's all
It's
coming
not
together.
easy.
No,
Yeah.
it isn't.
They work hard. It's definitely, they have to work really hard to get through.
And when they get back, when they get into society, obviously they have to be thankful. I'm sure they've got to be thanking the kids. Are going to be productive members of society as well. So
Like you said, we're breaking the chain.
yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, we had about a minute left. Any final thoughts?
I guess I'd like to say if anyone does want to volunteer for penny picking or to donate, you can visit the website, the www.frontdooragency.org, and or call our agency as well. And so, and even if anyone wants to attend the Murder Mystery Dinner, it is a public event, and
Okay.
it'll be a lot of fun.
And you have to figure it out, right?
Yes, yes.
And you can also, if you want to just stop by with a jar of pennies, you can actually.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And you just go into the parking lot, take a little left, right. There's a little side door right
Yes,
there. You can-
exactly.
7
And
Concord Street,
7 Concord
Yes.
Street.
or any TD Bank.
Right?
Yes.
Or any TD Bank, that's
Yeah.
right. But
Yes.
it's good to visit there at least.
Yes.
Pop in and drop off your change.
Yeah, and they go to the website, they learn all about all this stuff too. So we
Right.
encourage them to go to the website.
And do it before the holiday season.
Yes.
Yes. Because everybody's going to be pushing for donations as well. So
Yes.
let's get this under
Yes.
on the way. Well, thank you very much for coming
Thanks
on
for
the
this
Thank you,
show.
Kevin.
opportunity. Yes.
We appreciate it very much.
Absolutely, and we appreciate you for sure.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles, and we hope that these shows mean a lot to you. We hope that we can help out the community. If you have an organization that you'd like to share and show how that you're involved with the community, please come on the show. Just call Access Nashua, and we'll get you on. And if you got extra change, please. Thank you for watching Gate City Chronicles, and we want to thank our sponsor, Avard, the Dean of Clean. You can reach them at 603-521-7657. If you need your carpets cleaned, call Avard.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.